So now we come to the economic tab and the economic category. We have been through the net space heat demand under the BER, and we've been through the energy costs when we were talking about the BER. The transport costs we're going to talk about in location. So all of these yellow ones are like that. Universal design is the universal design checklist, and depending on how many of the items that you get, and again, there's a checklist, a yes no thing to help you to go through and see how many you could get. 15 is the lowest number you can get to get 1 point. So, like if we take a few of them, so in this case, in this example of this site, there would be that would be achievable. The drop curve would be achievable. The ease of access to the front door and the rear door. Just note that's different to the regulation, so it's asking for both front and back. Let's yes again. It's probably once you know that you're doing it and you can put it within your tender document, that's achievable for not too much extra cost. And then different colours is probably achievable. Plant at the front door is achievable, perhaps, and wider doors, external and internal is probably achievable. The clear width, so you can go through these again for a typical unit and see what you think would be you could put in at the stage you're at, or whether you could see that it would be paid for if you're at an early stage or not. And basically you go through yes no, and you can it's 15 of those yeses and you'll get 1 point. The next level up is 25 measures, and then 35 and 45. So I guess the Green Building Council see this is quite important. They have worked with the National Disability Authority to develop this, and I suppose it is just it's just good sense in a lot of ways and good practice. You also need to provide evidence that the measures actually have been done. Not you doing your project, but you in general if you were doing this. So, you'd have a file with, item 1.1, and here's a photo of it in place, just very efficient, and put photos against the items. To get, I suppose, the 3 or the 4 points for the 25, for the 35 or 45 measures, you probably need a very focused design team who are going to incorporate this from the very beginning, and it might be critical to certain types of projects. I'm actually working on a age-friendly neighborhood at the minute, which is really interesting. So that would definitely be up there for that kind of neighborhood. But the interesting thing about that is, and I suppose it's coming around to the universal design approach, is that we typically build our public spaces and our buildings for a young, fit, able-bodied person, and really we should be designing it for people who it should be an enabling process, I suppose. So if you design for the elderly or for less able people, then you're actually designing it better for everyone. And I think that's just a mindset that we haven't probably shifted to yet, maybe for cost reasons. So you begin to have to do things, extra things that like even especially in local authority housing, where our dimensions are cut to the last, putting in extra 50 mil of door is sometimes a deal breaker. So it's just to note that I think there is going to be a move towards more universal design in general. I know that RIAI have a universal design task force, and they are very big in trying to promote this as just across the board good design, that it shouldn't be an additional thing. That was a bit of a tangential rant. And then yeah, if you get your 15 again, you might have, I mean, that should be the same for all the units. There may be, I suppose, depending on the amount of different house types you have, there might be one or two that are slightly different, but if you're doing it for some, you should be doing it for them all. Then when it comes to the smart monitoring, I suppose this is not really happening a lot. So you might get, you probably would be able to achieve this, a Climote or a Nest or whatever system. Unlikely that you've got electricity monitoring. Unlikely you've got monitoring of the heat and hot water. And just to note that this should just refer to gas now, since they've gotten rid of, or sorry, to electrical now since they've got rid of the gas and the oil. The water monitoring unlikely, and therefore unlikely also to have an integrated dashboard, so you would not get any points. Oh no, you'd get one, sorry. So just here, you'd see what the score is here, and you would put it into this tab, and then um, it applies across the board then. Energy labelled goods. This, our particular example, I suppose it's in Dublin, may have some build to rent. It's likely to be quite high end. So we're going to assume you'll know the answer to this. We're going to assume quite good quality. All of these are being provided. I mean, typically I don't think developers are putting this kind of stuff in at the minute, so we're getting a 3.25 or rounded down to 3, again across the board. Or if you don't provide any white goods, so if you said not provided, you guessed it, not provided, you get your no points. But you can put in 1 point if you're providing this information. It's kind of a little bit of a cop out, but it's there anyway. Flood risk, then you'd need to go to the particular location. If in case you don't know where to go, it's this view flood maps on floodinfo.ie. You put in your particular location. You would probably be aware of this if you're working. Well, I'm very aware of it because I'm close to Clonmel, so we have a lot of flooding issues. So it's a really nifty map, and then you can put in, let's say for a given site, you put in the probabilities, and you get the layers then, and this can be, I think it's down here somewhere, you can export it then as a PDF. Is it here? You can go black and white, you can go OC. There is somewhere that I can't remember where it is. No, there's some, see, do you ever look at, oh, it's this one right here. Ever look at some of these and think that's not very intuitive, so you actually need to, no, I think it's not save image. You can view the PDF and then you can download it, but you need to select the area, and then that's downloadable with all of the information. So depending on which of those the low probability, so just it gives you also a handy little summary of what that means. So it's a 1 in 1,000 chance of it happening. The medium is a 1 in 100, and then I think the high is a 1 in 10 year chance. Yeah. So you can have them all on. You can just have one on at a time, so you can see what the different just turn that off for a sec, what the different probabilities are for each of the different for your site. So if you turn the low off and that off, you'll see, and obviously the higher ones are usually further in because they're not as frequent, or they're rare, for example. It's a really handy resource, a general resource, if you don't know about it already. So then depending on so if you're not in a flood risk zone, which let's assume this one is, you put in your 4 points, and again that applies across the board. So we're getting a 19 out of 30. So we're constantly hitting about half here. Okay.